be alone for a while.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and today's show is going to be packed, so stick around. We have a lot to cover in a short amount of time, including a ton of different things happening with NK. We'll cover all of that and more. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. I just wanna be alone for a while. Alone for a while. Alone for a while. Alone,
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have really a packed show. We have a ton going on. In fact, today, much more than the entire week, everything has been popping off. So if you are new here, remember that every single article, tweet, video, picture that we show you here today is going to be bibliographed over on our website. Now, when you go there, you can also sign up for our email alerts, and you can also follow along on a second device. When you go, you will see that it is all organized by thumbnail. So you will look for tonight's thumbnail, what was just launched, and then, of course, Orbital Velocity. Once you click on that, you will see that you will be brought to every single source that we have. That way you know exactly where your information is coming from. On top of that, you will see that once you get to a yellow big bar, that is web-only content. That is the stuff that is too hot for TV, or, again, something that is too far to one direction that we do not cover here. You have a whole other show down there. Remember to use that. It is something that we do virtually for just the people that go to the website. So again, make sure to utilize that and use it. On the right side, if you do want to support us in any way, you can do so. If you are already going to be purchasing prep or EMP protection or anything like that, you can get it through us at a discount and help the channel at the same time. There are a ton of different things, including Nord and, of course, EMP Shield and My Patriot Supply over there. All right, and then let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. How are you doing, and what is going on today?
Why, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So just want to say thank you to Diane Moses before the show even started. Did a super chat saying, good night all, catch it in the morning. God bless, and don't forget to hit the like. I really appreciate all of you replay watchers, those that don't stay up or it's too late in their time zone. Thank you, everybody that has watched me the next day. So if you are watching right now, thank you guys. All right, we'll get right into it. We're going to fly through a ton of this because there is so much right now to cover. It says Chinese military aircraft crashed in the South China Sea, and it says that the Chinese military is searching for a patrol plane that crashed into the South China Sea earlier this month. Taiwan's intelligence agency said on Thursday, becoming the first government in the region to officially confirm several days of speculation. The March 1st accident involving the People's Liberation Army Air Force Y-8 anti-submarine warfare aircraft, first revealed by Vietnam-based maritime analyst and open-source intelligence reporter Duan Dang in a Sunday issue of his Substack newsletter, South China Sea Brief. It says Chinese authorities had announced a, quote, surprise military exercise from March 4th to March 15th in order to conceal the search and rescue efforts within a maritime no-go zone. So I just first want to point out that we, of course, had a jet go down. Now they have a patrol plane that went down. This one, very specifically, I don't know exactly what the Y-8 looks like. I don't know if it has any pictures of it in here. But essentially, that is something that is kind of fishy to me. And the fact that they covered it up with the search and rescue, I guess if they did have any kind of interaction or kind of, back and forth, then it probably wouldn't be hidden, right? It would probably be out in the open. But I do know that we have tons of interactions. In fact, there's a story at the very end of the show tonight about how... Oh, that's okay. Thank you. About how essentially that there are tons of things that happen that the civilians and the public do not basically find out. In specific, there is a piece later on, an opinion piece done by somebody who actually controlled the nuclear missiles. And their statement is basically there's a lot more than the public knows about. There's more incidences. As far as back and forths with major powers, I'm sure we've had them. In fact, any of the military in our groups, they probably will tell you as well. They've had minor incursions minor incidents. Not a minor incursion because we don't care about that, right? Minor incidences with other major powers. They call each other and then it goes down and then, everybody chills out and it's all covered up. That has happened. That's guaranteed. So was this something like that or something else? It says Taiwan's defense ministry is continuing to track near daily Chinese military flights into the southwest corner of the island's air defense identification zone, but the anti-submarine variant of the Y-8 has not been detected since March 1st, the day of the reported South China Sea mishap. Meanwhile, the electronic warfare variant of the Y-8 has run missions into Taiwan's ADIZ on at least 3 occasions this month, the ministry data shows. So was this something that was this on accident? Was this shot down? Was this, the beginning of something? Was this just totally covered up? Or was it simply an accident? Or was it hacked? We don't know. But we will definitely follow it. Things like this have definitely have a way of coming back up later on. Of course, with our accident with the plane in the South China Sea, the jet, one of our F-35Cs, I believe, when it went down, it was a big deal. And of course, that we knew would be because that technology is incredible. Do they have stuff in this that they wouldn't want us to have? Or is it more so they didn't want them to know it crashed? I don't know. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. David Round, thank you for the super chat last night. I missed you. And then Stealth Mode, thank you, Foogle fam. You are the best from the home of NASA. I believe Houston. Yeah, so what is going on? Thank you. And again, thank you, every Texan that watches. And then exclusive, Facebook will temporarily allow posts calling for moons against Russians and calls for Putin's forceful perish. Okay, so this one should have people, I don't know. I guess people are so hypocritical nowadays and people are so, one-sided. It's just incredible. Now, you can't you can't say Putin's a great guy, otherwise you're totally negative. But I guess my point is that so first off, let me give you an example. Twitter still has that president on it, but does not have the one that was just in office before. So this gentleman, who the world is saying is the most, the worst since the German leader, he is still allowed on Twitter, but yet the previous president of our country is not. That is kind of insane to me, and it should be insane to a lot more people. As far as this, I have mentioned on Twitter just a couple weeks ago, there were pictures and videos of very graphic things all over Twitter, and in fact they were pushed. It was like they were getting trending and viral, and again, I believe Twitter, just like any other platform, can make something go up or make it go down. And community guidelines were not being enforced. If that was a video sharing any other kind of instance, if it was like a localized thing that was in the United States between two people where they banged at each other, that would not be okay. They would not let that fly, or at least not the level of graphicness that these videos had. But instead, they were trending and they were pushed up. Because, again, I would like you guys to point out and really, focus on what is being pushed to you, what is being shown to you, what is being pushed up by the algorithms. And you'll quickly see that it's obviously, Ganda all over the place. So as far as this goes, of course, he's not a great guy, but why would they allow this and not other things? I guess I'm more irritated that they would not allow, simple opinions about things, but they will allow for things like this way over the top. What do you guys think? Let me know. And again, it says Meta platforms will allow Facebook and Instagram users in some countries to call for against Russians and Russian soldiers in the context of the Ukraine invasion, according to internal emails seen by Reuters on Thursday in a temporary change to its hate speech policy. Are you effing kidding? So they are changing their hate speech policy to allow it for a certain country. You don't have to be anti-patriotic or pro-Russian to see the problem with this. Just saying. It says these calls for the leaders perish will be allowed unless they contain other targets or have two indicators of credibility, such as the location or method, one email said in a recent change to the company's rules of violence and incitement. So, and this isn't coming from, some tabloid. This is actually coming from a main up there with Associated Press news outlet. So, and they have proof of it. So that is from an internal email. They essentially switched on a whole bunch of speech, right? The hateful kind. So that's insane to me. But they still won't let you have an opinion about, geopolitics or anything else. And then UN atomic watchdog loses contact with second nuclear plant in Ukraine. So Dex, again, tonight there's just so much to go through. But as far as Facebook and of course UN atomic watchdog losing contact with the second nuclear plant, what do you think about this?
Well, the quick thought on Facebook real quick is, also going back to the previous administration, if you recall, the social platforms were allowing people to say the same things about him, right? You saw how many people call for, a certain thing against the former administration, right? So it's really weird how they do this, because there's definitely a double standard in the way they put their policies out, or how they administer their policies. I think the policies are fairly generic, but back to the UN watchdog. So what's important here is, and not that we're necessarily fans of the UN in one way or another, but there are people in many different positions, and one of them at the UN is to monitor data from nuclear plants. And they do that for the purposes of knowing, like, okay, how many spent rods are there, where are they being stored, did anything move, what is where. And it's sort of almost like an accounting of all of the nuclear fuel that's out there. And it's done, and it's a really good thing that it's done, because somebody at least is keeping tabs on all these countries that have reactors, so we know where they go. We know if anything gets moved, or at least it's reported, right? At a minimum, they have the data to see what's happening, right? Well, all of that's been shut off from two different plants. So think about this. These plants now are basically blind to the world. Someone, for all practical purposes, could walk in, take something, and bring it anywhere else in the world, and no one would know about it, because nothing is being monitored and tracked by third parties or anybody around the world. All of that data has been completely cut off on both plants. Yeah,
and of course, there's two different viewpoints on this that I've seen that have kind of risen to the top is people are saying that it's fear-mongering about the whole nuclear plants thing. There was information that of course, the generators had 48 hours left, and after that, then of course these things would start getting into a dangerous scenario. One thing I thought about is, like, if Russia, this is most likely going to affect Russia as well. You would think if they have control over that area, that they're not going to want that stuff to happen either, because it's going to affect them. You would think that they would go in and turn the power on or fix it or keep gas in the generator. And they could even use it as a bargaining chip or something. They could use it to their advantage. They could fill it up with gas until they don't, right? Just that was one quick thought, just coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about Chernobyl or how, who's actually there controlling it. But as far as this goes, this is something that the entire world is worried about. I think that people should be focusing on multiple things, not just this, but of course China, Taiwan, everything that's going on in the South China Sea. Little things like this patrol plane could have been something way bigger. You have to realize right now, information is a weapon. So just remember that, and keep everything. It just don't accept anything until you know it for sure. Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, and Adam, the other thing to think about is not just whether or not something gets stolen. There's two occupying forces, or two locations that are being controlled by an occupying force, right? We don't know what's happening. Like, you don't know if the generator has turned off. We don't know if they ran out of fuel. We don't know if the power's back on. We don't know any of that because none of the data is coming out. They've cut the lines so that they're basically blind. So it's a lot of information to think about that's critical. And we can't see it. We, the world, everyone else can't see it. Only, basically Russia, who happens to control them right now, has access to that information. And
somebody said, somebody referenced the 3/11 tomorrow. So tomorrow there is a rumor. Somebody said, where is it that the Kremlin said that? As of now, it's just a rumor. And I believe, I didn't see what the previous conversation was, but I believe they are mentioning the rumor, and I would call it a rumor, is that they are going to, we're going to call, separate their internet tomorrow. There was also a rumor that they were
and that came out of a media organization in Belarus.
Yes, it was a Belarusian media outlet. So no, the Kremlin did not say that. The Belarusian government did. The same government, I might add, that we showed you the Belarusian president in front of a map that showed the world the battle map, and also showed after Ukraine they were going to go into Moldova. It was very purposeful. I mean, how did a camera get in there with him literally holding a freaking stick like this up to Ukraine and making it very visible that their next plan was Moldova? So was that to purposely put that out there, purposely leak it for some sort of purpose, maybe to scare the world, or maybe for some sort of other ganda? Don't know. But it was a Belarusian news outlet is the one who said that tomorrow Russia, basically they put out that any Russian company would need to switch over to a .ru website. Otherwise, they would not be able to get out to anybody, because they were going to completely separate the .ru, the .russia, and they were going to make their internet an intranet, which they did make it possible to do so. They did it in a very short time period. We showed you that, and many people think that that is a sign that they are going to do some sort of cyber attack. Now, that does play into part for today, and for the person that says, yes, that's a rumor, yes, it is. But I would say as a prepper, in the back of our head right now, and the story that's coming later, NK launching something that's questionably, they're saying, could very well be a FOBS, a fractional orbital bombardment system. Our main story here, what was just launched. We'll talk about it later, but as far as, opinion on this is, would Russia or China have NK do that for them? Especially, why does NK all of a sudden have this extreme tech? We know for a fact Russia did say, and it was confirmed by the Kremlin or officials at the Kremlin, that they accidentally gave them the design for a super EMP. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But that very good comment down in the chat. As far as we don't know. But they also said that on the 4th, on March 4th, that they would be going into martial, right? But they didn't. So we don't know what is truth and what is not, but the thing that lines up is kind of creepy here. Bobby of Joy, I keep hitting with 90-day post suppression for false info on Facebook. All I ever post is Bible verses, prayers, and blessings. Bobby of Joy, I see so many people that reply to my Twitter with Bible verses, and it's in the see more or possibly offensive tweets. And then I have to click that to just view like somebody saying, God bless you. It's pretty sad. Stephen McMahon, as naive as it sounds, I think it's going to come down to a choice between good or evil. But I don't think people will realize what good and evil is because it will be very confusing. Even the Bible says that. Jessica Dijon, thank you for subscribing. Bible Talk 777. The West has pushed this conflict with Put because they want WW3 and will blame Put for a leak, and this will go nuclear. Very well could be. And then Susan Donahue, just want to say thank you, and thank you for sticking with me for now years. Says, stay strong, hashtag Team Humanity. Graduation day is right around the corner. Yeah, big day, lots of stadiums and things like that, packed full of people. Susan Capers, thank you for subscribing. Now we have another Susan. And again, Susan Donahue, thank you so much for supporting Independent. So as far as the power plants, what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And then read the fine print. Russia's nuclear weapon use policy. Dex, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so a couple of things that are interesting. First, take note, the bulletin.org, this is the same people and organization that puts out the doomsday clock. So if you're familiar with that, you'll know who's putting this together. But basically what they did was they looked at the fine print of, so to speak, of what the policies are, including changes to the policies that were made in Russia about how they would use nuclear force. And of course, the obvious is in retaliation, right? But there's also another clause in here that basically says if there is a threat to their homeland, then they have the right to do it. If there's any case of aggression against the Russian Federation with the use of conventional, then where the existence of the state is put under a threat, then they have the right to use nuclear force. That is in their policy now, their updated policy for the past year.
So it's kind of odd in the fact that they even altered different things over the last year. And I want to say we covered it when they changed it and nobody really noticed, right? Yeah, I mean, this went totally under the radar.
Nobody noticed, but it's obviously relevant today, right? It's super relevant today because, what you would normally think is, okay, well, everyone has these, but they don't have them to use them. They have them just to keep everyone else in check because everybody knows if one person does it, everybody does it. It's all over, right? At least that's the theory. But in this case, it's like they've changed the rules, so to speak, for themselves to say they have the right, even if it's conventional on their land.
Yeah, it says the Russian Federation retains the right to use nuclear weapons in response to the use of nuclear weapons and other types of weapons of mass against it or its allies. It says, but that sentence ends with an unusual statement. And also in the case of aggression against the Russian Federation with the use of conventional weapons when the very existence of the state is under threat. So they basically said, oh, yeah, we can respond to nuclear weapons, but we can also respond to just regular weapons. And I'm surprised that this didn't get any other coverage besides us. Like we briefly covered this in 2000 when it was changed. I mean, this was this was a while back. And I remember just like a little tiny independent news organization covering it. So I don't even think we had it. Like we just mentioned it and thought it was kind of funny. And everybody else was like, I don't think that really means anything. Now, fast forward, look at it. This is why we archive everything. Because when you look back at the mainstream, mainstream does contain a lot of stuff, then it's like they show us these things, and then later on it does make a whole lot more sense. There's a lot of puzzle pieces that need to be fit in right now. But one thing we do know, I mean, it's absolutely sure for anybody who is just completely thinking that nothing's going to happen, I would say think about the goal of some of the people at the very top. Even those people agree that they would like less of us here, period. They think we're the scum on the bottom of their shoe. So just think about that. How would they go about that? And then Krista R, praying for all of us, grace for you too. And then Snow Leo, thank you guys, appreciate you, stay safe. Thank you, Snow Leo. And then before we cover, U.S. Army soldiers undergo more training in latest show of force. Oh, I got to grab my sister's here again. I got to grab her phone. I think I did post a picture on Twitter, maybe. I'll show you they ran into a convoy of over 200 vehicles on what do you call it? 405. So a very, very, like I've seen convoys on I-5 here in Washington, but I've never seen them on 405. 405 is more of a smaller one that goes from place to place. So it is very odd, and it was a huge convoy. So I just wonder if they were going from like I-90, 405 to I-5 or what. But the types of vehicles, my 15-year-old nephew now, he is on the spectrum, but he's also a savant when it comes to military stuff, and he could identify every vehicle, the kinds of vehicles, what was more alarming. So I'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I'll try to grab the phone and show you just a kind of a snippet of it, but they got a video and then they also got pictures of it, and there were certain vehicles, the paint, all of it kind of, I think, matters. Charles Pelkey, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the channel and to the Foogle fam. If you are watching live or a replay, make sure to hit that sub button. I appreciate you guys. Then you will get notifications. Make sure to hit the bell with all notifications. First off, while I still have your attention, please make sure to check this out. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP if you have not already. EMP Shield is a company that has worked with agencies like DOD, DHS, and of course the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This is one of the few ways you can actually protect yourself, your generators, your cars, your house, your motorcycle, anything that you want to keep running after multiple EMPs or a Carrington level event, CME, then you would definitely want to go over and do this and go over and check out EMP Shield. Now, with this link, marfooglenews.com/EMP, we've been grandfathered in with a $50 discount, and that is per device. So if you need to get 3 cars taken care of, then you can do that at $150 off. If you have a house and a car, you get $100 off. That way, you get a discount and protected, and you may actually save a life. And you help our channel out at the same time. They send us a commission when you go and purchase for sending you over. So that's how affiliates work. We appreciate anybody that supports us. It's not required. It's something that many of you are going to be doing anyways. If you could do it through us, that would help us out at the same time. Corky BB, thank you so much for subscribing. And Joe A, thank you for subscribing just now. Appreciate you, and thank you so much. And just a reminder, the car version is one of the most sold. Somebody made a comment and they said, hey, nobody talked about in that video the other day if you can install it yourself and how much it is. I believe with the $50 off, it's less than $300, and you can do it yourself in under 15 minutes. People believe that that's a high price. This is a professional, hand-built, all-American products. Nothing is shipped in from any other place, and again, it is 100% American made, and it does the right job. So if you want something that will actually protect against multiple EMPs with zero degradation, then this is the way to go. All right, and then U.S. Army soldiers undergo more training in the latest show of force to Putin. U.S. Army soldiers underwent more training in the latest show of force, and it says soldiers with the 1st Squadron, 40th Cavalry Regiment conducted an airborne infiltration and insert as opposing forces for Alaska's Home Station Combat Training Center rotation on Wednesday. So we always cover, and one thing that you can find archived on our website is all of the different trainings and the drills. Drills, again, give you a kind of good signal of what is to come. One thing that is being done as well is a ton of paratrooping practice and drills. Over the last 6 months, we've shown you they've done some of the largest drills in history. One of them, they actually did a drill in 18 different time zones with almost all of our allies. And that was actually before all of this started, while they were moving around Russian Navy. Dex, did you, and they moved, speaking of Alaska, they moved heavy artillery up to Alaska about 7 or 8 months ago, 9 months ago now, maybe even a year ago. And nobody really noticed except for, we covered it.
Yeah, and what are the islands up there that stem off of Alaska? Is it the Aleutian, I think? Don't we have a lot of equipment and people spread out through that as well? So yeah, and obviously the proximity to Russia or Russian area, Siberia, etc., is critical. It's also an area where we would, obviously be looking for and protecting defensively against anything that may be encouraging over towards us, whether it's in the sky or in the water. I know that doesn't have anything to do with paratroopers, but yeah, paratrooping and the drills they're doing, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about with the cold stuff that they're doing in Norway coming up with, I think, all the NATO partners. So that's even bigger. But yeah, we continue to see these drills, and I think the important part is to pay attention when they're unique or they're specific or they're different, is to pay attention to what it is they're training for. Like when they all started training for night vision, that would tell us that they're planning or they expect to have to do stuff in the dark or more stuff in the dark. And that's kind of the thing we look at when we pay attention to these various different drills that come out from our military or other militaries.
And when a lot of these things can turn into real events, as many of you know, we have used drills and exercises as a cover for an actual operation. Don't think that this one would apply too much to that, but there have been several that they use that as a guise to move a lot of troops or do something like that. CB Rides 11, thank you for subscribing, and Old Guys Honda Garage, thank you as well. So I wanted to say something. Somebody, every show we have this, and people said something about trolls or whatever. Just remember, most of those people that are coming in to do that, they're not usual people. Lately, I think that someone is actually telling people to come over and cause problems or hate. Show them we're different, and try not to be offended by the stuff they say, and try to welcome, because I guarantee you, we've had so many people comment and they said, I didn't like your show at first, or I hated you, or I thought you were annoying, or this or that. I don't really care if they like me or not. The community is really what a lot of people are here for. Just remember that if you are nice to them, and it's hard sometimes, show them that we are different, then all of a sudden they lose a lot of steam when there's no reaction to the negativity. Also, they might be being told to come here and do that. So then they stick around and they go, okay, it's not that bad. Dex and I we've sent each other these comments like, I thought, somebody told me you were this and this and that, and I came over and I thought you were going to be a total nut job. And I stuck around, and now I've been watching for 3 weeks. It's like, there's that kind of thing. So just remember, those people everybody is a troll. You realize that? I guarantee you, every one of you has been a troll, either online or in real life. If you've had a bad day and you snap at the checker and realize it's your mistake or something. So just realize that, some of these people are going through some really, really, really hard times. Everybody here is, especially after CV and everything else. They're kicking the cat. It's a Zig Ziglar saying, but essentially they're passing down their bad day and they're pawning it off. If you respond to positivity, it might just restart their kind of, their positive heart, right? And then they're like, well, sorry for being a jerk. And most of the time they'll even apologize and say, sorry guys, I just was being a D today. So just remember that. Just be positive. Everybody plays a part. And that means all 5,000 in chat, you can do that. And when somebody comes in, but once you say, hey, you're a troll and this and that, they're always going to be a troll. They're never going to, they're going to put up their defensive wall and they won't open up, and now everybody hates them, so they're not. It just doesn't help. So just a quick rant there. Jamium 1903, Stacy Cooper, and CB Rides again. Thank you. Chinese. So this is kind of crazy because we're saying that we would reply or respond to China taking Taiwan differently. Dex, when I read this, the first thing I thought was that it's like we're putting it out there that like, oh, you know, we know China's watching this flub up with Ukraine and nobody's jumping in, nobody's willing to fight with them, and saying this to try to put it out there that like, oh, this will be different. You know, we'll come and stand for you guys. Is that what kind of how you feel about this?
Yeah, obviously, people aren't necessarily, people are trying to tell Taiwan, hey, look, the U.S. won't protect the Ukraine, so they're not going to protect you. And I think what I look at this and I feel like it's at least messaging that's going out that's trying to say, hey, while we didn't do what what people are telling us we should have done in the Ukraine, we actually would do that, or we'll do something different to help Taiwan. But they're not telling us exactly what the policy is or what they're going to do. But they're just saying it would be different. Now, of course, it would, technically it'd be different no matter what. But it is on one hand, it is sort of a little bit of a posturing to help promote the alliance with Taiwan. But it's also not strong enough, like to come out right out and say, yeah, we're gonna stand up right in front and go toe to toe with China if they try to, invade you. It's not like they're saying that either. So I think, when it comes to these talking heads, we have to, look at what it is they're trying to say, and maybe read a little bit between the lines, because, sometimes we may think it sounds good, but it really isn't. And, this kind of goes back to, I go back to what we've done with Taiwan before, where we would call them a country and then we would back up and say, oh, no, we support, one China. So it's like we flip flop back and forth. So I think, on one hand, this is sort of messaging that tries to say, yeah, we support Taiwan, but it gives us an out if we need to tell China, no, we really don't.
It's a bunch of circle running. It's a bunch of BS, essentially. It's like, I don't get it. I think that I think most people would agree, whether you hated him or not. At least the last prez would have been like, we'll be there with physical manpower, and they were very clear. I guess I just wish it doesn't even have to be the last president. Just any president that would be. If we're the biggest and baddest in the world, just act like it. We're falling behind. We know that we're behind in AI and in technology, which that's crazy. A lot of people don't know that. Our own government, our own Pentagon officials are quitting and resigning and saying, how did you guys let China ahead of us in this department? Like, what is going on? It's like they're sabotaging us. This is like Babylon. It's the fall of Babylon. It's just horrific. And then Russia, Belarus squarely in default territory on billions in debt. It says Russia and Belarus are edging close to default given the massive sanctions imposed against their economies by the United States and its allies in Ukraine. It says the World Bank's chief economist Carmen Reinhart told it says the specter of Russia defaulting on $40 billion of external bonds, its first major such default since the years following the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution, has loomed large over markets since a raft of sanctions and countermeasures by Moscow have largely cut the country out of global financial markets. So one thing I think is that they knew all of this was going to happen. They gamed this out, and they knew that they were going to get sanctioned. They knew they were possibly going to get separated from the entire world. They already have the money and the materials and the military and everything else. This is why, if you are believing that this is all going on as said, at the very least that Russia is really you could either believe that they are the victim here or that they are the aggressor. Either way, most people believe that they are really the one that is getting picked on by the world right now, right? They knew this was all going to happen. There's got to be something we don't know. There's got to be something behind closed doors. There's got to be some sort of cooperation between these oligarchs and rich folks, and this is a conflict between them or something. Maybe between new gas and the old world, right? And gasless world with no oil. Remember, our dollar is the most used around the planet, and our dollar is a petro dollar. It's backed by oil, right? So how the hell are we not going to switch off of oil in the next few years without switching from the dollar, unless the dollar ends up, changing? So I think that some of my friends are right when they say to bring in a new system, they have to collapse the old one. That's why I am kind of terrified of this, because how would you collapse a system? How would you collapse a country? How would you collapse the greatest country in the world? From the inside out, most likely. The first seal broke in 2020. The second seal is broken recently. The third seal is a slow drip. The fourth seal is imminent. 2 billion casualty event. Open Truth Ministry. Very scary. All right, Dex?
Adam, the other thing that comes to my mind when I think about the economics of this, they're basically saying that the world is not going to give them credit because their credit is falling, and they'll default on their loans, so basically be bankrupt, and no one will ever want to loan them money. But let's not forget the second biggest economy in the world is their ally, which is China, and I suspect that they probably have a pact or at least some sort of agreement that's going to allow them to evolve through the Chinese economy. And I think what that may actually do is what you were saying is that if the second largest economy in the world can start creating a system for Russia to operate as an independent country in an ecosystem with China, then they will roll that system out to other countries, because as we know, China works with every other country in the world with trade. They would roll that system out, and it would then allow the circumventing of the US dollar, or the petrodollar as people refer to it, right? So I think that may be part of this strategy, and why you see Russia sort of saying, we don't care about your sanctions, and we don't care if all this stuff collapses, because we still have valuable resources that are worth value, and we can get those resources out in other ways and get value back from it, when that may be in the form of some form of digital currency through China, or even through themselves, right? As opposed to the US dollar.
Yeah. And we saw over the last few years, we have covered story after story how China was cutting the US out of the middle, even to the point where Russia was giving China farmland to actually farm these very specific things that they were getting from us. For example, soy. We actually export soy to China. They have been given farmland in Russia to grow that soy, so then they could reduce their reliance. It's like, think about it. If they did want to go to conflict with us and not depend on us, they would have to do a lot of things. So first of all, the U.S. and the United States, we were also Hollywood, which you'd think, oh, who cares about Hollywood? Well, Hollywood is big money. It's billions of dollars at this point. Trillions if you add it all up, right? As far as Hollywood and the U.S. really leads the world. The whole world, when they watch a movie, usually it's produced in L.A. or whatever. Well, China realized that, and China started buying up all of the production companies. In fact, China pretty much controls Hollywood now. If you don't believe me, go look at the groveling video of John Cena saying, I'm sorry, I said Taiwan was a country, I'm so stupid. Only in Chinese, right? Watch that video. You know that what's scary about that is because he or anybody else in Hollywood has to do that. They have to grovel to China, otherwise they won't play their movies. At that time, it was like Fast and Furious 9 or whatever. They won't play that in China if they say something bad. Or if you say Taiwan's a country, China won't have your movie played for 1.4 billion people, which is a lot of money. right? Or the production companies that China owns. And you have no idea. China is taking over Hollywood because they have to invest their money outside of the country. A lot of the billionaires there, they can own land in China, but they're not really owning it. It's never truly owned. That's why Chinese billionaires bought up all of this property other places. In fact, almost every country has a policy when you spend enough money with it, you can get dual citizenship. You can buy citizenship in the United States. You can buy citizenships in Australia. They buy a certain amount of land and they can literally get citizenship wherever they want. So this is it's very very freaky. By the way, Marfoogle's Siphoned Gas just subscribed. Thank you. I'm glad you're coming back. Maybe you can put yourself back in the tank. Natasha French, thank you for your support. Joe Posey, will Taiwan fight like Ukraine when China enters? I don't personally think so. I don't think you could compare the I guess the people of those two countries as far as like I don't know. I think they would fight, but I don't know if Ukraine is truly fighting back like they say they are, or even just Ukrainians versus Taiwanians. Don't know. And then Gone Girl 777 says, hi all, can't stay. I'm not feeling well, but I love you all and D Live love. Hey, Gone Girl. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. And again, thank you so much for just all the love and support. I know that this stuff stresses everybody out. And then AMG, I don't know if that was an accident or not, but extremely grateful for the work, Marv. Dex and Mods going, says, you and your families are making many sacrifices that the most will never see to serve this community. God bless. AMG, thank you, and I really do appreciate that, since especially that's very true, so thank you. And then thank you again. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting Independent. All right, and then Dex... going over the satellite images showing flooding. So hydraulic warfare, if you guys don't know what it is, it has been done in different places. In fact, I think in Vietnam, they did a kind of a form of this by even, seeding and making it rain and mudding it out. But this is a little bit different, that they are basically saying that they believe that Ukrainians may have knocked out a dam or purposely put water in places almost like a moat. And there's photographs, and they're essentially saying that. Dex, do I pick that up right as far as...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there are some, you can go to the website and look at the article and you'll see the photographs. They're not very detailed in the sense that you're just going to be like an aha. It's not a real big thing. But the point is, people have been able to depict the fact that there is some major flooding in certain areas, and those areas are strategically important in the sense of protecting an invasion from Russia in those cities, or in that specifically around Kyiv. So they're even though it hasn't actually come out and intentionally did this, but the assumption is it's the hydraulic warfare, which has been used many times before. Some places not very successfully, but even in the second conflict, and then like you said, and other countries have done it as well, where you basically flood just to make it difficult for another military to move through. So if that's the case, it's an interesting change or tactic that we haven't seen yet in the country of Ukraine. So we'll keep monitoring it, and I'm sure people will certainly send pictures. I do know that there was dams that they had talked about, potentially having conflict on them as to whether or not they would blow them. And, there was a lot of consternation about who did what and who didn't. And it, obviously those would have been more detrimental to people that live down below it, versus this scenario seems like it's more flood control type thing where you're intentionally flooding areas out. I don't know if people are necessarily directly affected, or as many people would be affected as, say, in a major dam that would be, blown open.
And if you look at the satellite photos, it looks like the coast had kind of an inlet, and then they purposely flooded it. And then there's an area where there was a path through. They flooded that as well. Makes it harder for, troops to go through. They basically, it looks like they made a moat. This kind of adds into this whole the whole thing of that Ukraine is doing whatever they can to defend their homeland. This also puts out there that, they're doing basically anything and everything to protect it. Don't know if it's true, and I don't know why this wouldn't be confirmed. I guess it's because it's on the ground and it's literally happening now. Why the Ukrainian military wouldn't just say that they're doing it, because that doesn't really change the traversability of it. And then Simply Pony, Hiramata Fuglas, what's going on? Hey, Freedom for All, thank you for subscribing. And then Tracy Wood, thank you for subscribing as well. Make sure to push the notifications bell. And then Open Truth Ministry says the apostasy has been happening for 2,000 years and counting. Antichrist is being revealed, but you have to open your eyes to see. Pre-trib rapture is only preached in comfy country. Pre-trib. And then we're going to talk about Ukraine, and Putin's forces move on Kyiv, but are beaten back. Dex, they have been saying this for like 2 weeks, that they're right outside of Kyiv. Why is there no real, I guess, video of just thousands of troops against thousands of troops? Why isn't there, I don't know. You would think that you would see more of the defensive thing set up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And at least in the sense that we just see glimpses of pictures of small skirmishes or areas that were affected by, we haven't seen the traditional front line or front lines or something moving in. But I will say this, I did see an alert that came out right when we were starting the show, that they were reporting that convoy that had been there is actually dispersed, and that would be a sign of a different tactic and a different action. Instead of them coming in, they're now spreading out to I guess to make their next move. So we may get more information on that as of course, as the day or the night becomes day over there, where we'll find out more about what may or may not have happened actually to that convoy. But that could bring about some different views in how this, urban and city-based conflict actually plays out.
So, and then one of the theories that a gentleman had, I forget what his channel was called. One of my old friends sent it to me, and his theory was that he said to look at how they're going in and specifically hitting targets, going in and then backing off. Going in and then backing off. That's just according to what the news is saying. We don't know if they're actually doing that, but what his theory was that they were surrounding the cities, going in, doing a little bit, and then once there's any kind of pushback, they move back out, and that they're surrounding it and stopping supply routes to kind of starve them out, because they have the time to wait, so they can just wait outside the city. One thing I don't understand, though, is there were really dozens and dozens. There's much less of the cameras now, but the live stream cameras, why were they not setting up things like, the barbed wire and defenses and things like that in and around all over? I mean, when you saw Normandy and different places, they set up all sorts of stuff in WW2. Maybe they didn't have the capability or the resources, but I'm like, what is all this money going to then? They're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. I think over $1 billion now.
Yeah, billions now. There's billions have gone in.
Because one country, didn't we send like 500 million or something? I mean, over billions of dollars. So where is that money going? Unless this is like some sort of laundry machine or something. And because anything could be traced back to money.
The House just passed a funding bill that includes $14 billion for Ukraine. And that hasn't happened yet, but that's an example.
Ours?
Yeah, ours. Yeah, $14 billion.
For what?
Well, it's under the label of aid, because everybody likes aid. Aid is helpful.
Oh, it's aid.
It's good stuff.
It's going to go to hospitals and children. I'm sure that's going to be a headline in the next
and executives that make tons of money and funnel it back to their people that help them.
Yeah, it's going to go into a third-party shell company that's going to then wrap it back around, and then it will line a pocket or two. and then they'll put $11 in the jar at the children's hospital.
This just in, 100 shell companies were created today in Ukraine, all 501c charities.
Yeah, there's like 400 ministries were open today. Okay, so before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you have not prepped up, there's plenty of reason. I don't really need to tell people why that you need to prep, but I would say this. We told you before CV happened, 4 or 5 months, what was being said and what the world was putting out, what the W agency ends with an HO, what charts they were putting out, and the information and what they were looking at was that they said CV was coming. They even went as far to say how it would affect the GDPs of the world, the actual economic effect of the future thing that just happened and was forgot about in a week. Now they've moved on. And remember, before, when this first started and the whole convoy thing was going, do you remember how I said people were mad at me because we were covering that thing less and less, but I said they are going to drop this like a sack of rocks. They're not going to cover it. It's done. They're the actual stuff. The everything was just going to go away. It's funny because somebody said it's all going to come and then it's all just going to go poof and disappear. And that's basically what it's done. But people are still stuck in this zombie mindscape and everybody's still walking around with the stuff on. People don't know what to do. They were just trained for 2 years and then it just poof. So pretty crazy. If you haven't prepped already and you are looking to do long-term survival food that will actually last years, make sure to go over and check this out. This is an affiliate, so when you go over and support, not only can you get certain things like a discount on a 3-month supply of food, but you can also help our channel at the same time. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. They have everything from long-term survival food to iodine pills to water purification. They have the Alexa Pure. A lot of you guys have said that this is a really amazing system. It's much cheaper than its competitors, and it works as far as it's the same quality, only a less of a hurt in the pocket. And then, of course, you can get air purification, everything over there. marfooglenews.com/prep. It supports our independent channel, and you are getting yourself prepped. The good thing about that is, of course, you will have actual storable food that can last for a very long time. Dex?
Adam, I kid you not, less than a minute ago, the Senate, now first I told you the House was 14 trillion. The Senate just passed a spending bill with aid to Ukraine, 1.5 trillion.
Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me?
So there's a lot of money that's going to be flowing.
Where is the money? Like that? How much was the? Wait a second. What? Whoa! Wait! How much? 1.5 trillion. What was the bill for the? How much was the bill for the relief checks from CV? How much was that?
That's a great question. I'll look that up. But yeah, this is trillion. I'm looking 1.5 T.
You are kidding me.
Spending bill. And I think the one I told you earlier was 14.5 billion, right?
Did we just figure out Did we just figure out why this is all happening? Where is that all going to go? And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money just to print.
You know, think about how much we spent in the ME, right? And it wasn't just the day we rolled in with our military and all that expense. It's when we left, or as we slowly left, the contractors rolled in, okay? And everything started to be run by contractors, and nothing wrong with them, but you know, these are guys that were in the military making a military pay that then go back and they're making $350,000 or more a year doing the same job, right? But they're getting paid with this massive money that gets sent over as aid to be used for the protection, rebuilding, reconstruction, doing anything that, you know, you can fit into the aid category, which is just about everything.
Basically,
right?
We're paying
That's
for
where it
them.
goes. It's just funneling our tax dollars right over to that country.
We're paying for them to build their country, and they're gonna be taxed, and that money will go right back to our leaders and to our oligarchs and to the people that will then insert their corporations in there. Think about it.
And just to be clear, Adam, someone did say that it's an ominous bill, so there's more stuff in it. So it's a 1.5 trillion. The headline says 1.5 T bill with aid to Ukraine. So it could be misleading that maybe it's not all that going to Ukraine. But even if it's not that, the one I talked about with the House, 14 billion. I mean, billions of dollars is a lot of money to be sending to another country.
Okay, and then they'll probably fit in like, and we also need to track every single person's eyeballs, where you look. When you sit on the toilet, we need to know how many times you use the bathroom. It's part of the bill, so just pass it. Okay, thanks. All right, let's move on. We've got, after Ukraine, Europe wonders who's next. So lots of talk about who is up. Of course, we talked about previously the Belarusian president stood in front of a board showing that they were possibly going to go into Moldova. It would be really trippy if they actually did. It says for some European countries watching Russia's brutal conflict in Ukraine, you see how they put brutal to your brain goes, it's so horrible, right? There are fears that they could be next. Western officials say that the most vulnerable could be those who aren't members of NATO. Wouldn't that make all those non-NATO states go, oh, can we join NATO? And thus alone and unprotected, including Ukraine's neighbor Moldova. Isn't that funny? And Russia's neighbor Georgia. Both of them formerly part of the Soviet Union. So it would make sense that if they did go to Moldova first, if it's a non-NATO country, then they wouldn't be protected and they could take that extra land. Is this Russia's goal to actually take Moldova and every non-NATO state and kind of sneak in around and get some extra land grabs? Or is it something else? But analysts warn that even NATO members could be at risk, such as Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, on Russia's doorstep, as well as Montenegro, either from Moscow's direct military intervention or attempts at political destabilization. It says Russian President Vladimir Putin has said right from the start that this is not only about Ukraine. So he said he told us that he wants to do when he was listing his demand, which included the change of government in Kyiv, but he also was talking about the eastern flank of NATO and the rest of Eastern Europe, Boronsky told the Associated Press. What if, though, just hypothetically, what if he is really trying to go for a power grab? Weird thing is, there's these rumors and these stories coming out about him apparently having 6 months to live or something like this, or having cancer. I still don't believe that. Feels like that's some sort of ganda being put out, but I don't know. What do you guys think about it? And let's see here. Open Truth Ministry. Ukraine should have set up Tesla coils from Command and Conquer. Where are the mammoth tanks? This is not like I remembered at all. And then Ferris, thank you for subscribing. Marfoogle's friends that he mentions, thank you for subscribing. Irish Rebel, huge, man. You don't have to do that every time. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys' support. Again, you can come in with a 99-cent one, though, too. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You never even write a message either. All right, Doc Bill, cluster munitions and vacuum booms explained. The war allegations against Russia play March 8th, 2022. All right. So, and by the way, most of the friends I mention are literally my friends, or my family. Let's see here. Open Truth again. Thanks. You guys are awesome. Nurse Pauline RN. Thank you for subscribing. I can't believe that there's somebody that's pretty funny actually. They're going and making a fake account and like going through the whole process of making a Google account or something to have that pop up. That's effort. I applaud that. Let's see here. And then column of Putin's tanks destroyed and another top commander supposedly taken out in an ambush. This is more of the kind of the hero stuff. And by the way, Dex, did you see the stuff that I put on Twitter about how there was a supposed video used from the movie Deep Impact? It was supposedly used in a news channel. Did you see that?
No, but that doesn't surprise me.
It was the scene where all of the traffic is backed up for miles and miles, and there's people running through the streets in between cars. It's almost the same scene that's in Greenland, too. It's like, or in fact, I think that same kind of scene is in a million End of the World movies where the traffic is stopped and everybody's running through the traffic and trying to get away from the wave or something, right? 2012, I think that movie had it, too. But that, as far as that goes, they say that was used in this news channel, but nobody can produce the original video. I just wonder that when I see any stock photos of anything at this point, it's like, is this at all based on reality? Is this a movie scene? You know, the thing is the only thing that I've seen that debunks it is just basically a tiny news channel like me. And it's just a person who's doing a website. And then there's nothing proving it either. Nobody has this original clip of this news station using it. So you can't prove or disprove it. But the one thing it puts us all at odds at, it's like, is legacy media and all of these medias around the planet, how much of this is true? To the point where, you know, CNN actually has to do like clips like every 25 minutes saying, this is how we vet our social media videos, because almost all of this is coming from social media TikToks in Ukraine. It's like, why don't we have actual, you know, footage of this? Why is it all from TikTok? Makes people think, right?
Well, the thing that in this article that I also found interesting is the fact that they actually publish. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this chart, and it's publishing what they claim to be the Russian losses in Ukraine, and of course, then the estimates, if you read the fine print at the bottom, are coming according to Ukraine's military.
Yeah, from Ukraine's military. Why did they not take any of those? If that's what happened, you'd think, hey, we just gained 12. Oh, I guess, yeah, can't gain a dead person, but 56 MLRSs, like those are missile launchers. So, you know, did they destroy them or did they take them in? Something about this doesn't seem right, unless somebody else is helping them and going in there with a airstrike or something. Maybe other countries are secretly helping. I don't know, or it's not happening. Either way. And then real quick, a mention of energy. If you haven't checked these out, it's one of the most sought after generators out there. If you have not already, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. If you have a gas powered generator, just realize gas is going to just skyrocket. But also, it is loud. Gas powered generators have motors and they are extremely, extremely noticeable. So unless you have built a custom shack around it with soundproofing, most of the desperate people in your near area are going to hear it. Most of them you cannot put inside because you'll end up not alive. So again, if you haven't checked out solar generators, this you can hook up to any kind of panel and put it pretty much anywhere. Again, it's portable. There is one right now running both of my power bars and my router. So we will never go down due to power. Which is pretty amazing. Also, it is silent. You can't hear it. I can't even run my desk fan without the mic picking it up. But that solar generator is absolutely silent. So I have the Flex 1500 with one battery, on the way with two. That's the thing. You can actually link up to 96 batteries, and each one is this big. Great if you just want one thing and you want to power a bunch of stuff for a little bit. But if you want to like go the long haul or power your house for a week, you can do that. You can link up to 96 batteries to one single Flex station. So, and you can get mods that get basically sandwich in the middle. These stack. Again, you can also go sideways. What's really, really cool about them is you can get mods so they can either charge faster, That is a one big deal with these solar generators and battery banks, is how fast you can charge them. This, you can get a mod, so then you can put in double the input and your wall input and double the panels, everything else. Everything is modular on this. So make sure to go check it out. There is a waiting list. You need to get in as soon as possible if you want to get this now. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle. And then, so this is an op-ed done by someone who ran for 5 years. I believe it was 5 or 7 years. Yeah, from 2012 to 2017. This gentleman, Cole Smith, ran one of the stations, would go down into a missile silo and would actually run, basically was in charge of the nuclear missiles. And what he is claiming is that a lot more things happen than we know about. And we already know that, right? But I do want to read this little side story in here because it is pretty crazy. This is what is told to anyone military-wise that kind of goes into caring for the missiles. And I briefly heard something about this story like 2 years ago when we had that guy who said that they had the most boring job in the military, which was doing the security at the missile. And I briefly heard this story back when we covered that. And he said it was the most boring place ever. There was never any visitors. He would have to sit there like 12 hours, or they do these huge shifts, long shifts, and you never have any human interaction. It's just like you and a little checkpoint, and there's nobody. It was the safest place on earth, right? But there's a story here, and I remember this, and I didn't know that this was a real story. And maybe some of you can basically, if you've heard this too. Actually kind of funny, they have a mural of a Domino's pizza logo with the macabre caption in the silo that says worldwide delivery in 30 minutes or less or your next is free. But there's this story in here. Talks about, it says, Greg Devlin was an airman assigned to the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, the ICBM team in Arkansas in 1980. One night, he responded to a leak in the missile's fuel tank. A young airman working in the ICBM launch tube had accidentally dropped a socket from his toolkit, and the socket fell down the silo, ricocheted, and pierced a hole in the Stage 1 fuel tank. The missile's liquid fuel exploded. Devlin was thrown 60 foot down an asphalt road and watched as a massive fireball rose overhead. Get this. The ICBM had a 9 megaton warhead, the most powerful singular nuclear weapon in American history, on top. When the missile exploded, the warhead was thrown into the woods, disappearing into the night. Now, one thing I don't know is, obviously they must have grabbed it, right? It says, I was stunned and in pain, but I knew the nuke hadn't gone off, Devlin told me, because I remembered those stories from Hiroshima where people had been turned into little charcoal briquettes. It says, I was alive. That's how I knew the nuke didn't detonate. Although the nuclear warhead didn't explode, the accident still claimed the life of one airman and injured 21 others, including Devlin. So that was a story that was told to these guys of why you have to be extremely careful. But also, I don't believe many of the people really knew about that when it happened. And I bet you there's a lot of these events that happen. But we would not find out as the public. If that 9 megaton nuclear boom would have went off, that piece of Arkansas would have been gone. So one thing that they say is that there was a lot of alerts. So they would go down and they would do their thing. So I guess, Dex, wouldn't you say that, like, most of the point here is that we're not going to find out until it's last second?
Well, and I think the other point is, yeah, we're not going to find out till it's last second, but also they've been on the brink before, right? And that's the point the person's saying is, like, they've gone down. And I think that they don't always know if what they're doing is a drill or is real, because that will take out the psychology factor, right? Like if you just always do your job and they make you do it over and over and over again, and you just never know if it's the real one or a drill, then you'll just perform it, right? Because if they say, oh, by the way, this time you're really doing it, then you might second guess yourself and say, well, maybe I'm not going to turn the key, right? So, I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I've not actually talked to someone who's been there, but the story is kind of interesting when you just look at the perspective of the person who, said they were in that role and what they experienced and what they were told, and what happened, right? And what things they say, and that probably can't tell us in greater detail of the things that did happen that put us on the brink, so to speak, or how many times we were on the brink, so to speak, and people just didn't know it.
From what I have heard from at least 2 military members in our group, is that we have had several launches and they have a system to shut it down. Like while it's in midair, they connect with another person, another country, and they can shut it down and stop it. So I believe that sounds simple enough, or they can make it where or re-aim it or something, hit in the ocean and turn off the trigger for the actual explosion. So then it's just a ICBM, hitting something like a normal test. But I have heard that they've had at least 2 times where it was a real launch, a real threat, and then they communicated with the major power and they said no. And I'm not even talking about the whole, this was like recent, like since 2000. So I just wonder how many of those, if that's just 2 people knowing of 2 different things, both said the same dates. So, I mean, it's like if they knew about that, then there's got to be more military members out there that knew about others. So another thing is we do not prepare. They think just preparing for it gives the wrong image out to other countries. It makes other countries fear, and that's why they even shut down and decommissioned a lot of our air raid sirens. They said, well, we don't need air raid sirens because it's all going to be peaceful. That's why we decommissioned a lot of them, because having them says to the other guy, like, oh, we're worried about it, when we're not. The other countries actually do nuclear drills still. If you're old enough, when you were a kid in school, they would do these drills and they would tell you to get under the desk as if it was going to protect you. But you did experience that. And they learned a lot from that as well. It caused a lot of fear. It caused a lot of trauma in kids. I think that what would happen is we would not know until it's like right there. And we would get a text kind of like how they did in Hawaii. And we would find out last second. And I still think Hawaii was something. I think that was real, and somehow they knocked it down, or something happened, or it was something. Because even the guy who pushed the button on the alert said it was real. But then he pushed the wrong button, and then they changed the story like 15 times. That's a good example. It's like, what really happened there? People were dropping their children into manholes. People were stealing motorcycles, punching people off of motorcycles, stealing the motorcycle and driving across Hawaii, getting into somebody else's boat and taking the boat. People robbed people for their yachts. Because that's what humanity does when you get told last second. Jennifer Aldridge, thank you for all you do. Hey, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you. Nice to meet you again. Thank you. Jamie Tomlinson, child of God, girl. Hey. Thank you for subscribing. Highway 111. Thank you, as always, for subscribing, everyone. Bones and Tubbs Show. What's going on? It's been a while. What do you think will come of tomorrow? Russia disconnecting from the web, and also meeting with the UN Security Council to discuss the USA. So I'm going to wait until tomorrow. I bet you the stuff that they say is a theory now, in a couple weeks, it will not be a theory anymore. But as of just like when they said, that this whole thing that happened over the last 3 years was created in China, right? That was something that people were deleted for and never brought back. But yet now it's considered as basically a fact. So I think something will happen there. Speculation: Putin conspires with oil-producing nations to demand gold for oil. Death of Petrodollar Global collapse, gold to 100,000 an ounce. What if? Chloe Jasper, I don't know, but I've been hearing a lot about gold though too. Dex?
Yeah, that topic you were talking about that's going in front of the UN. Obviously, the U.S. is going there as well with a different story, one about conflict crimes, right? And we've talked about that because we've reported, at least from the Western media, all the reports about, a hospital here, civilians there, et cetera. And all those would be conflict crimes. But then the other thing I just saw, it was that the narrative from the U.S. side or the Western NATO side is that statement coming from Russia that they're going to the UN with is now being said that it is because it's going to be used to create the justification for a Fantastic Freddy. So that's, the spinning of all of this information it's like it's in a giant tornado and it's just going around in massively fast circles, and how it's changing daily. So you're right on when the fact that, we'll probably hear a totally different story a week from now. And this stuff is super sensitive because of the fact that everyone is trying to control the angles on that.
Yeah, it's I'm waiting for more to come out in Congress for it to be solid, and we'll see what happens then. In the meantime, make sure to follow our website too. We've got a lot of stuff over there as well. Yesterday's show we shared a good chunk of it, and then Open Truth Ministry. Ukraine should have set up Tesla coils from Command and Conquer. So the first time I read that, I didn't get it. Command and Conquer was like the best game ever. I wish they would come out with a new version that was like, I remembered back then they had computing limits that would just not let you have more than like 200 troops or something. AMG, thank you again. Massive support. Gone Girl and Irish Rebel, thank you so much. Craig Alicious says U.S. federal debt is already sitting at, I didn't realize it got to 30 trillion, is already sitting at $30.3 trillion. But get this, it says that is around $241,000 per taxpayer. If you are not preparing for total collapse, you are mad. Like crazy mad. I agree with you. Caveman 93able, thank you so much. Roach to go, thank you as well for subscribing. Welcome to the Foogle fam. Everybody welcome Caveman, Roach to go, Jamie Tomlinson, Ricky RX8. Awesome name. So one of the main things here, so look at the timing of everything. This is kind of freaky because it lines up last week on the 6th, or what, Dex, was it the 6th or the 4th?
The 26th of February and March 4th.
Yeah, so the 26th of February and the 4th of March, two different things were launched, and now they are questioning if these were fractional orbital bombardment systems. One of the questions is, it says NK tests new ICBM missile system in serious escalation. Why is it an escalation? Did they just escalate? Did they just launch something that possibly is something else? Do we have a system to stop it? NK tested a new intercontinental ballistic missile system in two launches, February 26th and March 4th, a senior President B administration official said Thursday, calling it a serious escalation. Sorry. The system was originally unveiled during the Korean Workers' Party Parade, October 10th, 2020, and again in the defense exhibition of Chungyong in October of 2021, the official said Thursday. The 2022 launches did not demonstrate ICBM range or capability, but were likely aimed at testing elements of the new system. The senior administration official predicted a future launch at full range, which may be disguised as a space launch. The United States strongly condemns the DPRK for those tests. These launches are a brazen violation of multiple UN nations Security Council resolutions, aimlessly raise tensions, and risk destabilizing the security situation in the region. So, main point says, let's see here. It says, on Friday, the Treasury Department is expected to announce new actions to prevent NK from accessing foreign items and technologies that enable it to advance prohibited weapons programs, adding that there will be a, quote, range of further actions in the coming days. The Japanese and South Korean militaries said January missile was launched on a high trajectory, apparently to avoid territorial spaces of neighbors, reached a maximum altitude of 1,200 miles, and traveled 497 miles before landing in the sea. The flight details suggested NK tested its longest-range ballistic missile since 2017, when it flew ICBMs that demonstrated the potential to reach the U.S. NK completed more missile tests in January than it did in all of 2021. That is a trippy thing to think of. It was like 9 or 7 tests or something, 9 tests, but more in all of 2021, just in January of this year. Alarming South Korean officials who worry about its northern neighbors' intentions. NK in January attempted to justify its testing activity as an exercise of its right to self-defense. It threatened stronger action after the B administration imposed fresh sanctions following the 2 tests of a purported hypersonic missile. So what do we know? That we do know that Russia has admitted giving them the design, or said that it fell into their lap. They literally said that it may have accidentally been or given on purpose to NK for a super EMP. So we know that Russia has given them stuff, and now all of a sudden they have hypersonic technology. Well, who else had hypersonic? So is it crazy to think that if any of this was true, then quite possibly could China and Russia have NK do the launching? Dex, does that sound crazy as far as Russia and China having them, do it from NK, because there's only so much they could do?
Well, yeah, and I think so. I don't know. One thought I had about this is if they did it, if NK said, if NK launched an EMP, having them do it would really make it not a global thing, but like it wouldn't be like Russia or China was doing it. It would just be NK. And if it happened, then if the knockout was severe enough that it actually did the damage they expected to do to our military, obviously it's going to be a lot to our infrastructure. But if it really does the damage they would expect from the military, then, Russia and China could swoop in and say, okay, well, we're here now to help, or we're here now to, do whatever it is they want to do. Right. Whereas if that launch was coming from, Russia or China, and it was initiated by them, then it's a totally different position that they would then have to live with in the global community. NK can get away with it because everybody looks at them as a hermit nation and he's crazy, right? So, it's almost like they can use him as a puppet to do something that way.
Well, it's wolf, the boy who cried wolf. They're doing so many launches, nobody even blinks, right? They launch one that's not, and it's the real deal. What if it knocks down our grid, something like that, and then we are scrambling to get our grid back together? China could use that because they say that they're going to respond differently. China could take Taiwan while we're just trying to get our power back on. Think about it. The emergencies in the country, if something like that happened, that would far outweigh. How would we wage 2 conflicts and have all of our power off in the whole country? I don't think that would be possible. And if NK does it, then all we can do is respond. We can't just wipe them off the planet. We can shut their power off, but who cares? It's NK.
Well, and let's talk about the importance too, Adam, of the notion, and it was hidden in this article, and many people won't recognize it. But when they said that the launches are going to be set up to look like a space launch. Okay. So that's a disguise so that we don't think about, oh, well, they're just launching something in space. It's a satellite launch. It's not necessarily, a weapon coming over in the sky. It also lends credibility to the fact that they have done this FOBS, FOBS, or fractional orbital bombardment system, which everybody learned from, or all those people over there, China, NK, and learned from Russia, who originally did it. What it does is it creates what looks like a space trajectory, like you're going up to put a satellite in space, and then you enter orbit, and the orbit you enter brings you around from the south, basically across, like, say, Antarctica, and then coming back up through South America and then over America. And because you're taking that trajectory, 2 points. One, you're in orbit, so it looks like it's a satellite. And then two, you're coming in from the south, where we have the least amount of our strategic defense. We spend all of our time over the years, especially during the Cold Conflict, with the north, the east, and the west, right? We were looking for stuff coming from subs. We were looking for stuff coming across the Arctic of the north from Russia, or now even China. So all of our stuff is sort of pointed the other direction when it comes to detection. And also ICBMs do this traditional, and you can see it there in the picture, an ICBM just goes up, it arcs over, and it comes right down. So it's a very traditional arcing type thing. It does go up high into the atmosphere and comes back down and re-enters, but it's an arc. Whereas this fractional orbital bombardment system is more of an orbit, where it goes into orbit and then it sort of surprise attacks because you think it's a space object, and it in turn turns out to be an EMP, because it doesn't have to come back down, or it could come down if it was meant to be a nuclear type device. Then it would actually come down from orbit really quick at that point, either in hypersonic fashion or not.
So essentially, this would be the sneak attack to knock out everything. And we could only respond in kind. We can't just nuke them off the face of the planet. We could knock out NK's power, or unless we had solid information, then knock out Russia or China's. But if NK does this, it would be, there's a system in place. We're supposed to respond in kind, right? Unless we just, decided to, boom the crap out of Russia because NK launched it, right? Perusia says Zelensky started a production company, Kvartal 95, in 2003, which produced Servant of the People. Then he started a party with the same name, all funded by oligarch Kolomoisky, corrupt oligarch. And I talked about that. It's like he acted one of his most famous roles was where he was a regular guy that got put into the position of being the prez, right? And they literally picked that guy as the real prez, no political experience whatsoever. PSS, thank you for subscribing. Jay Torallo, thank you for subscribing. Make sure, since you guys are all new, Papa de Schmoop, thank you so much. Make sure to hit that bell so you get all of our notifications. Something is going on right now, and I have proof, says Blessed in a Bad Life. Blessed in a Bad Life, you've been here for a while. Send it to me, Adam at marfooglenews.com, and then send another one to Dex at marfooglenews.com. Send it to both of us, and we'll see it. Dex, first of all, web-only content is just insane right now.
Yes. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or if you're on YouTube, open the description and look for that first link. It's called Show Notes. It'll take you directly there. You will find the rest of the story. So everything else that we haven't been able to cover, either it's too sensitive, too far to one side, too political, etc. But there's even updates on stuff that we could talk about. But go take a look. Lots of, some stuff there with what's going on with Ukraine. Definitely some things with that investigation that we've talked about in the past, and it's come to light. Even the woman who we all think is going to run in 2024 is sort of downplaying it. You can find out what she is saying. I'm not going to say her name. And then plenty of other good bits of information, and even some fun things like watching, the press battle with the press secretary over, words and mincing of who owns what kind of cars and stuff like that. So there's always fun stuff in this section of the site. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for today's show, or if you're on YouTube, open that description and click that first link called Show Notes. While you're there, look for the EMP Shield giveaway. It's at the very bottom. Scroll down. You've got 14 days left to enter. I believe there's 7 ways you can enter. So you get 7 different entries. And since there's 14 days left to enter, you can come back for the next 14 days and enter every day and get additional entries. So I know there's lots of people that are looking for the EMP Shields. This is one of the ways they're so gracious to do these contests or giveaways periodically, and we love it when they do it for the Foogle fam. So you guys go out there and make sure to sign up so that you have a chance of winning. Odds are pretty decent. So again, go to our website, click on the thumbnail, scroll down, you'll find it right after the web-only content.
Thank you, Dex, and thank you, everybody else. If you don't want to be tracked and traced, make sure to go over and check out the off-grid bags. EDEC makes these bags. Again, they have a Faraday bag, which is their duffel bag, but also they have their backpack and they have other smaller bags. This is something that more and more of you are actually considering now because they are tracking every last move. So what I do is I have, whenever you go anywhere, you can put it, I have one of the smaller ones. You put your phone in and it's offline. It's not tracked and nobody knows where you are. So there's small bags, there's big bags. Again, that is something that I would definitely check out. If you do it through our show, you get a discount and you can help our channel at the same time. Thank you, everybody. Much love. Kenneth Kirkland, thank you. Stephen McMahon. Moldova was a Romanian province called Moldavia. At the end of WW2, Romania gave Moldavia to the USSR. Lots of Russians sent there to colonize. I did not know that. And then I wonder, yeah, well, most of this, I don't know what's really happening as far as how far past Ukraine they might go, or if they're even planning that in the first place, because there's not a lot of confirmation of certain things. But I will say this, preppers don't care. We're looking at this and saying something big is on the horizon, much bigger than CV. I think that was almost, practice for what is to come. So we'll see. MRSA 1, God through NPC, thank you. Said, anyone want to have an end of the world party? Well, that's what this is. So, Crypto Craig, every day that we get to wake up is an end of the world party. That Gen X dude, Charles Cox, Rebel Snarfle, thank you everybody for popping in. Thank you for the support. Able-bodied over on PayPal. Again, thank you. You didn't have to do that. Rhonda B, thank you so much. Also, a few people last night. I really do appreciate you. Joseph Lint, Beth B, Terry T, thank you, huge support, thank you so much. And then of course, Gone Girl 777, as always, thank you for supporting independent, and everyone else that has popped over there. Natasha F, again, thank you. We have Laura S, Survival Living, thanks for support. You don't have to do that at all. I hope that everything is working out. By the way, if you guys have not checked out Survival Living, make sure to do so. Dex, do we have an update on Survival Living's channel?
I do know he has a secondary official channel since he lost the first one, but he's still working to get the first one back.
And I think he will. And
yeah, I hope so too.
I believe
he's working with them, so
okay,
them being
yeah.
the platform.
Yeah, don't feel bad for him yet, because I think he'll get it back. The way they did it, I think that's pretty messed up. So Survival Living, and then can we link his secondary channel as well?
I think the mods have been doing it.
Okay.
So
right,
yeah,
good.
I see a link in there now. So yeah, it's there.
All right, go to the chat if you're watching the chat replay. All right, guys, it's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. I didn't have echo. Shoutro.
Be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Jennifer Hudson and Jamie Tomlinson.
riding with us. Caveman 93, your bull and Spencer Low. Thanks for subscribing, now you know. Blessed in a bad life, Arizona, Kansas, Perusia. Jennifer Aldridge, and what's up with Craig Alicious and Open to Ministry. Irish Rebel, thank you for supporting me. May.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
Chloe on the Jasper, on Anomaly, on Seth, on Trollins and Askins and Rizzy Vast. Go back and Nurse Pauline RN. Hot Dog Bill, a Lithron, and Space Out again.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
Tokenness, everybody whip that. When we got the penny salmons and the Chrissy drill.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
Preston and Rochegall, Corey on the Gulf Coast, UFOs and raw food, Bubba One and Clouds, you know. Hey now on Joy Hall, Troy Hill, gotta go up the mountain Anito, casting out the moho.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
I got James Paladin and Charlie Abercrombie behind me. Oh, see Walker Donkey and I'm finding Waldo Army. I'm orphan a kazoo, it's actually my hand. Oh, real life dual goldfish, Shannon Jody, you know it's hand. Andy O'Gaddis, and thanks for your support. Everybody, let's go build one end of the world pillow fort.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. And if I could, I would choose a new style. Me, copyright, and the 2.4. I appreciate you and the Eric Wright. Athena D. Guzman, D. Tech, Prophet, J. Stone, 78, Anthony Williams.
Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while. Oh, I just wanna be alone for a while.
Ain't gonna go back round, do it down and out the town. Charlie Abercrombie, conquer your future. Tennessee, you're tactical, and Bubba One, I do it all.